And we are here. What's going on, Dr. P? How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Thank you for taking time out your day to jump on with me.
Yeah, I see you've been hustling. You've been hustling hard out there. Listen,
Listen, you
listen.
know,
I was grading papers when you contacted me. I was like, okay, let me take a break from my boy here and spend a little time with him. It's been a while. We've been both hustling a lot. So
you know what it's like. I'm gonna put this back on because it looks like we're lagging a little bit, but you know what it's like. You've got your doctorate degree, and I'm trying to go through and get my doctoral degree, and it is a challenge. Every day is different, but I'm excited to be on the journey.
yes, you used the right word. It's definitely a journey, not a destination.
Oh,
It's a journey.
that's how we close out Sound Leadership with DJ. Speaking of that journey, you got the doctorate degree. How long did it take you to get your doctoral degree, and what is it in?
3.5 years. It took me about 3.5 years. I got a doctor in business administration with a concentration in leadership.
Hey,
Yeah,
and I'm sure you parlay that leadership into your lifestyle coaching, your professional coaching, your executive coaching that you do. Is that correct?
yeah. I do. I implement a lot of that stuff in there. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely a journey for me. I would have been finished. I would have finished sooner, except I don't know if you noticed. As a veteran, I have PTSD,
No, I don't. I
and
don't.
yes, I have PTSD, and I was having series of panic attacks daily, like
Wow.
very very debilitating panic attacks that rendered me useless. I was tapped out, couldn't really focus. I got withdrawn. I got what you call agoraphobia, where I just hid away from people. And
Yeah.
then they called it panic disorder, which is where you construct your life around not having a panic attack. So I would do all the things I could do to just kind of hide out and try to keep a panic attack from happening, and that include stepping away from school for a little bit. I wasn't as fast as I was going in the beginning. The funny thing is, um, in the beginning of the doctoral program, there were about two or three of us that started in my cohort together.
Yeah.
I carried them in the beginning, but they carried me at the end.
But isn't that how life works, though? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
I look at relationships like I've been with my wife since we were 16, and there was at points where she carried me, and there was at points where I carried her, and it's a delicate balancing act that we have between the two of us. But I think that's what makes our relationship successful is that ability to give and take when we need to.
Yeah, you got to be able to admit when you need help. I know I ended up in therapy, and my classmates had writing retreats with me where we would zoom in. I would put up my document on the board on the screen, and they were like, "Okay, what you want to say here?" And I was like, "Well, I want to say X, Y, Z," and they would be like, "Just write it right now." And I would just write, and they'd be like, "Don't try to fix it. Don't try to correct any grammar. Right now, you freestyling. You're just writing. We just want you to get your thoughts out." And
Wow.
they helped me focus, help get me back into focus to where I was able to complete. And then we ended up graduating together. We rented an Airbnb with our families in Kissimmee, Florida, and we graduated together. It was around COVID, so they weren't having any live graduations where
Yeah.
commencement. So we did our commencement online, and we all did it together. So it was very touching and heartwarming. And now I have family for life. We contact each other periodically. We talk to each other periodically. But that's what it's about. It's a journey. It's not something you should do by yourself, although you can. But there's a plethora of other people out there that are having the same challenges. So it's the best part is just to link up with them, and you guys can help each other out and both come out on top.
You
And
know,
that's what I ended up doing. So rather than graduating in December of 2020, I ended up finishing in May of 2021.
You know, delayed, not deterred, is what I heard.
Delayed, not deterred. You
That's
know,
what I heard.
you, you know, in Taekwondo, Eternal Grandmaster in American Taekwondo used to say, "Today impossible, tomorrow possible."
Yep.
You know, so sometimes, you know, what looks insurmountable, just taking baby steps towards the right direction, before you know it, you're going to be there. And that's what happened. I started. It looked really insurmountable with the amount of information, the amount of reading, the amount of research you have to do. And it was like, oh my God, I don't know if I'll ever be able to finish this. And then now I look at it in my book. I have a book. My
Hey,
dissertation, my
am,
dissertation is like 200 and something pages long, and I
listen.
did that.
Listen, so you know you've been with me on my journey. You were with me when I decided to say, hey man, I'm gonna go ahead and do this DNP thing. One of the big people that supported me. You shout out to Kemet as well, who really supported my journey to me going back to get my doctoral degree. And you shared the struggles with me, what it was like, what you went through to get there. Not at this level with the PTSD, but you even gave me a tool to use to gather all of my references in one location. So, shout out
Yeah,
to you for being a real brother and being really
yeah.
just there to support another brother as he elevates his life up to that doctoral level.
It's my
Um,
pleasure. My pleasure. My pleasure. Is it helpful to you?
so I use that in conjunction with me having an editor. So
Okay.
when I'm typing my stuff, I'll throw it in there and then I'll send it over to her to help me kind of smith it all together, keep the formatting together. As you know, you mentioned yours is 200 pages. Look, I am just at the end of chapter 2 and I'm at page 70. I am at page 70 at the end of chapter 2. So with that being said, right, there's a lot. So I have an accountability partner, somebody who I go to. Dr. Pete referred her to me, who kind of helps me keep in line and meet goals and deadline, because I'm a very much a goal oriented person, just like you, right? We've always talked about SMART goals and we're always talking about, setting expectations, and that person holds me accountable to meet my deadline. So, once again, both of those things that I just mentioned came from Dr. P. So shout out to you for just being a real one and being able somebody who, like we started the conversation. You said, man, I ain't talked to you in 3 months. What you been doing? But at the same time, though, what Dr. P said to me is, but I know what you're going through. So it's I'm charging it to your heart, not your head. I know what you're going through. I know what you're dealing with because I've
Yeah.
been through it. And unless you've been in a doctoral program, and it's kind of the same when I say about nursing, unless you've been through a nursing program, you don't know what that person's going through. They just trying to keep their head down and move through the situation.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but you know, even in that, you know, my wife will attest to you that they never felt slighted, because you know, during my doctoral program, I made it a point to spend time with them before
Yes.
I moved on to do my thing. So I would come home from a full time job, you know, and maybe cook a meal,
Yeah.
or we'll sit down and watch one of our shows, and then after I do that with her, then I'm off to the races. Then I don't have to worry about where you're at, how long you're gonna be there, how come you don't do this, you don't spend time with me. She got her time first.
Yep.
She got her time first. And honestly, this may sound weird, this may sound wrong to some, but I penciled her in. There were
Hold on.
days where I would
Hold
just,
on. Hold on. Let me show you this real
yeah,
quick. You talking about penciling somebody in? Let me show you what it is. This is a schedule. You see where it says meal? I penciled in my lunch. You see? Hold on. Let's family time, then school, then playing for
yeah,
the next
yeah,
day.
yeah, yes, sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, I penciled her in, man. I didn't want to miss that, and you know, she understood. You know, when I went through my master's program, I think I gave her. We communicated very well, because at
Mm-hmm.
first it was kind of choppy. So I
Yeah.
decided to say, hey, I sat her down in front of the computer, and I actually showed her all the assignments that were required, when they were due, what was going to take for me to finish. After me sharing that with her, we never had a problem. And then I gave her time. I made sure I've spent time with the kids, the grandkids, and it wasn't 3 hours, it wasn't 4 hours. It was what I
What
can give.
and
And
that's what's important though, is
yeah,
that communication piece, and that's what I heard you say. So you're talking to somebody. I was an LPN, had to go through nursing school. You were RT, you went through that program. Then I got my RN, that's another program, and it just escalated. And I think what kept me and my wife together and kept me out of the doghouse is communication. And I don't find it disappointing to say penciling in. I just showed you my schedule where I literally have meal plan, family. And for me, it's important to be there. I have a 7-year-old now. Gosh, that sounds crazy. But I am determined to make sure that as a girl dad, I am there for her. I'm there to show up for her. I'm at her appointments. I am at her, what do they call it? Field trips, things like that. Because here's the deal. While I'm going through this journey to get my doctoral degree, she's never going to be 6 again. So I can't miss those moments.
well said. Well said. Wow. And now the student becomes the teacher. Well said.
You know,
And you got to look at it that way because, they don't stay small very long. And then once you miss it, that's it. There's no recovery from that. But you can always pick up the pencil again and go back towards your doctorate. Again, that's a journey. Sometimes you got to take a break, and sometimes you keep it moving. There's another thing we say in Taekwondo is that it's all right to take a break, but it's not okay to quit. Yes, I can. And so I have used that mantra I've used throughout my entire life and just kind of navigated the world by saying, okay, I'm going to take a break. Yesterday I was in a funk. I sat here. I actually went swimming, did a few laps just to center my mind. And then I sat here in this hotel and just kind of meditated, spoke to the wife a little bit and just kind of recenter. So a lot of times we think that we don't miss the mark. People successful miss the mark all the time. But it's what they do, is how they bounce back that creates this growth. You can be you can have a lot of synergy and you're working and you're doing the things and everything's moving. And then all of a sudden you're going to tap out if you don't take time for you to replenish or spend time with family. And I have this one guy that I'm coaching now, and he told me he don't have time for that because he's trying to grind. I said, dude, what you grinding for if you don't have nobody to share it with?
listen,
It don't take you much time to spend time with the family. It don't take a whole lot of time. I'm not telling you need to take a whole week off or 2 weeks off if you're not able. But what I am saying is quality over quantity.
it's
Quality over quantity.
it got to be learned. I was that person. I was chasing the dollar. I was chasing the almighty dollar, which is the root of all evil, by the way. But you get into this mode of you're trying to get, as we say, the bag. You're trying to collect the money. You're trying to get the coins, whatever. You're trying to clean the table, whatever it is that you want to call it. You get into that mode and you start to forget what really matters to you in life. And, it's a very interesting thing because I've seen a lot of wild stuff in healthcare, and I've seen a lot of wild stuff in my life. But the one thing I haven't seen? I've never seen a Brinks truck follow a hearse. Have you?
No.
I've never seen that. So it's while we getting out here, we're collecting all this stuff, and I forgot where I said it. It might have been a TikTok. Shout out to whoever said it. But all we do in life is collect stuff to leave for somebody else because we can't take it with us. When we're doing all this collecting and gathering of houses and cars and Rolex and whatever, we're just setting ourselves up to leave it for the next person. That is all we're doing because we can't take it with us. Now, you and I both work in healthcare. I'm a registered nurse. You're a respiratory therapist. I'm sure you've done terminal wings. I'm sure you've listened to people as they are on their deathbed. And one of the things I hear all the time that I've heard when I was at the bedside was, I wish I would have done X with family or made amends with family or did X with family. But it always centers around having more time with the people they love. and not doing the things that they thought was important at that time.
It's funny you said that because I talked to my son the other day, and him and his half brother are not speaking, or
Mm,
were not speaking. I talked to his half brother, and his half brother says, "Yeah, I don't have nothing to say to him. It don't matter to me if I ever talk to him again." And I told him exactly what you said. I was like, life is short. If you don't have family, you don't have anything. And what are you, 18? You're 17, about to be 18. You need your older brother in your life. Um, Family's not perfect. We do make mistakes,
definitely.
but we have to reconcile,
Yes.
because you don't want to holler your shoulda, woulda, couldas, because your brother is a cop. He's a cop in Atlanta. As a parent, God forbid I should get the call, but I don't. I can rest assured that I haven't left any "I love yous" out.
Mm,
And so, if he passes, God forbid, he's doing what he loves, and he knows his dad loves him because his dad tells him that. Have you told your brother that? What if he died? Would you be okay with that? Would you be able to live? You may think so, but no, it will eat you up. And I said, that's up to you. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. But my recommendation, you're 17. I'm 53. I've been around a little bit longer. So I'm just going to throw this out there to you. And then you know what I did? I called my son. I said, son, I taught you better than that. You know better than that. Well, he can call me anytime. He's not answering my call. I said, text him. Send him a message. Hey, so-and-so, I'm just thinking about you. Call me if you need me.
mm-hmm.
That's it. You are the older person. He's a child. You're an older guy. He makes mistake. Yes, he's stupid. So are you. Get over it, because he just had a car accident. He totaled his car. I wonder if he died, would you be hollering your shoulda, woulda, couldas?
Mm-hmm. And
He called me the other day and said they spoke.
but you know what? It's so I can only speak to the communities that I'm in as an African American male growing up in the streets of Detroit, Michigan, 313 Livernois and Davison. And unfortunately, what I see and what I've seen and what I know is oftentimes if we feel disrespected, oh, so and so disrespected me, so and so slighted me, so I'm not going to talk to them. And it's very interesting because we tend to carry that into our older lives, right? At work, so and so disrespected me, or so and so don't like me, so this or that. And it's really, to your point, it's kind of childish, especially when we're dealing with it with family members, right? I think that it's you don't pick your family. To your point, you don't pick your family. What you have to learn to do, and what I'm learning to do with my own family, it's no secret with my own family. I have to learn, and it was a learned thing, how to feed people with a long wooden spoon. I'm going to be there for you, and if something drastic were to happen, I will be there for you. We may not talk every single day, but you do know that if it's an emergency situation, I will pick up that phone.
And that's okay. But when you have conflict, I don't want to get into conflict situation again. We've already talked about that. But conflict is an interesting thing because
Yes.
everyone wants to have their peace, and I think the key is in relationships where there's conflict, people just want to be validated about how they feel. See, what happens is when we're in a conflict, it's all about how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And
Me, 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 me.
you're trying to justify that what you did was in response to what they did, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like you canceling how they feel. But that's not, in the sense of resolving conflict, you should take care to validate how they feel. That's where um, you can resolve it the best. And I used to tell my kids this because they would say, "I'm not saying I'm sorry. It wasn't my fault." And I would tell my daughter this. I was like, "Do you value the relationship? Because if you value the relationship, you can humble yourself and validate how they feel and have an honest conversation about how you feel. and then come to a resolution.
You're speaking facts.
Just because you apologize, you're not admitting fault.
Mm-hmm.
You're validating that you might have hurt their feelings. You know, and I think in conflicts, both at work or at home, that's what happens. You know, everyone wants to speak their piece, and no one's listening to what the other one's really saying because
nobody wants to be wrong, and
right.
not me, not I. And if
value the relationship, it's not about right and wrong. It's about reconnecting and ensuring that both parties are validated in how they feel and come to a resolution that'll work for both.
If you're talking about conflict, though, where do we learn conflict resolution? See, oftentimes we're a product of our environment. You know, that's what sociology would tell us, right? We're a product of our environment. And sometimes people come from broken homes. Where do we learn these conflict resolution skills if we're not seeing them in the home, we're not seeing them in the school setting, and then we get to work and, you know, it's coworker against coworker. You know, it's very rare that you really go into a place where everybody loves their job. So how do we gain these conflict resolution skills from your perspective?
Well, in terms of employments, I will venture to say that most organizations do now have a course, mandatory course, or annual course that deals with conflict resolution as
Mm-hmm.
well as trauma-informed care. That's another big one these days.
Mm-hmm.
So I know my organization does. I have to do it annually. And, you know, you go in there and how do you resolve conflict, and you get it in there and you have to complete it. It's usually about a 3 or 4 part series. And it's the same with trauma, you know, so, you know, yeah. So if they're not getting it in the home, they're definitely going to get it on the job, because now I'm not sure if it's mandated, but in all the employments I've had in the last 10 or 15 years, conflict resolution has been one of the courses you had to take.
You know, so yes, I've had to do that, and in the course of my work, I think what happens though, when we talk about conflict resolution, and I wouldn't even take it to work. We were talking about family, right? You were talking about your kids. I think it's great that you are helping them through the process. I think what happens is sometimes we need more than that. And you started the conversation with saying, hey, you had to seek therapy. Sometimes it's just not over with, I love you and I'm sorry. Sometimes we have to seek therapy, but I think there's a stigma against getting therapy, going to therapy, what therapy can do. So, you mentioned that you went to therapy. I'm a fan of therapy because sometimes you need an outside perspective, but I think within some communities, and I can speak about mine, once again, in African American, sometimes it's frowned upon to seek therapy and seek help to help you move past a situation.
Yeah, that's getting old, because now I've seen a lot of African Americans going to therapy and admitting to going to therapy. I know for me, I have. I needed it, and it was very helpful. My daughter has had therapy, and now companies are offering it free through what they call the EAP program, Employee Assistance Program, where you can get 4 or 5 free 30-minute therapy sessions. And if you have to have any more than that, then they will bill your insurance and you can continue on. So I think the word is out and I think celebrities have helped that, because a lot of these younger people or individuals look up to celebrities, and now you see a lot of celebrities that are actually admitting to having dyslexia or anxiety disorder or bipolar disorder or depression, and seeking help for that. And I think that's part of the paradigm shift that's happening, that now people are realizing that this is a problem. This is not so much the devil. Like when we were growing up in church, it was like, you of the devil if you need, if you had a mental issue.
Yep.
Do you remember that? If you had a mental issue,
they're gonna pray it out to you.
We needed to cast that demon out. Now, obviously, I'm not against prayer. Prayer solves all things, but there is a work you have to do, right? There's work. Sometimes you have to reprogram your mind,
Yep.
and for me, I needed my mind reprogrammed, and it's a continual battle for me. It's a battle for the mind. When you talk about panic attacks, your brain is telling you something that is not really happening, and your body is following suit. So you have to somehow flip the switch and tell your brain that that's not really happening. You're not dying. Everything's fine,
Yep.
and systematically get back into um, homeostasis, if you will. So things like an ice pack on the back of your neck, on the back of your lower back,
Yeah.
or put your finger in an ice bath, and just to short
Get you
circuit
out of
and
there.
recenter your mind. That's a really quick, inexpensive way to jump out of a panic attack.
Listen, you have just dropped some jewels. I think I love your premise or your take on it. That hey, it's kind of a cliche, but what I'll challenge and what I'll say is, working with lower income people, and the SDOH, that's a big thing that we're talking about now. SDOH. How do we get therapy into these communities that are underserved, underprivileged, and get them access to therapy? I think some things are systemic, and if they have access to the proper care, the proper knowledge, the proper tools, we can have a better community and much better environment.
That's a loaded question, because I'm going to say that there are certain individuals that still don't have access to care
Yep.
like other individuals.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's a
And it's
disparity. There's a
unfortunate, right?
disparity there, and it's very unfortunate. Call it the red line or whatever you want to call it. But I would venture to say that maybe some nonprofits could help with that. Um, I know my wife. One of the things my wife wants to do is open up a farm, like a
Okay.
horse,
Okay.
a farm with horses, and be able to get people with social deficits, maybe
Mhm.
autism, antisocial disorders or anxiety, panic attacks, and put them on the farm and socialize with the animals as a way to learn social skills and learn to adapt to their condition. So, and there are some of those out there. I know of a friend of mine that she used to be a nurse, and I used to consult her for her. She's still a nurse practitioner out of out of Atlanta. Her name is Dr. Jai, Drjai, and she's doing really, really big. And I think she has a horse farm now, and that she supports a horse farm. And I've seen her on horses. I've seen her having events around the horses. So it's a big thing. And maybe more of that need to come out, and more legislation to sort of penetrate
Address it.
those with lower socioeconomic um, conditions, where we can go in and provide classes.
I
And the best way, probably the best way to do it is through nonprofit, because you know these regular cats ain't going in there to do nothing.
listen. I love it. Hey,
And then it bleeds into the law enforcement, because now you have law enforcement that need to be trained to de-escalate situations, especially when it's somebody with a condition, a mental condition, that are not really in their right mind, but have appeared to be violent.
mhm.
And rather than killing them, maybe learning skills on how to de-escalate them, but also without getting the cop to
Yeah.
as well. I don't mind protecting the blue, but I think it's a two-way street there. You know what I mean? We really have to really assess the situation and really make good, sound decisions before we go all John Wayne and end up in a situation where
It's,
you know what I mean?
no, I get it.
So because we
And
need to, the cops are in a dangerous situation. It's not an easy task, because when you're called to a situation, there is some aggression there,
yeah,
and you're already nervous. right? You are already on high alert and nervous. And so learning those skills and how to de escalate would be important, particularly with the developmentally disabled, the intellectually disabled, those with severe bipolar disorder, that kind of stuff.
Well, I appreciate the conversation there. I know this was kind of an impromptu.
It sure
Um,
was. You put me on the spot, bro.
Hey, that's what it is. Hey, listen, iron sharps iron, baby. So, tell them how they can find you. I know we've been kind of going in and out with the video play and the video screen, but tell them how they can find you. You are an executive coach. You are also a respiratory therapist, healthcare administrator, healthcare consultant. I mean, you do everything. I can't tell them all. So tell them how they can contact you.
Well, you can contact me on my socials. I'm Dr. Pete. I am DRPETE on YouTube. I have a YouTube with about a little under 500 subscribers. I got videos on life coach, leadership coaches, leadership styles, lots of stuff that is very impactful. A lot of people like it. So that's at I'm Dr. Pete. My Instagram is IM_DR. So pretty much I'm Dr. Pete everywhere. You can find me. Connect with me. Let's talk about it. If you have something you want to discuss, let me know. If you'd like to meet with me and want my guidance or my help on how you can achieve your destiny or reach your goals, I'm happy to help anytime.
Hey, that's what up. And I am DJ, your host of Sound Leadership with DJ. This is not a Sound Leadership with DJ episode, but I am the host of Sound Leadership with DJ as well as a healthcare consultant. I specialize in risk and compliance for all things post-acute care. I am employed through SMK Medical, which is the sponsor of Sound Leadership with DJ. If you'd like additional information, you can visit me. I'm on LinkedIn at a servant leader, and on all other platforms, I am seen at your healthcare consultant. Once again, my name is DJ. I am the host of Sound Leadership with DJ, and I just appreciate you for tuning in to this impromptu episode with Dr. Pete. If you found this informative, hit that subscribe button because we are streaming live on Dr. Pete's YouTube. We are streaming live on my YouTube. We are also on his LinkedIn. We are also on my LinkedIn. So once again, if you found this informative, please hit that like button, hit that share button, and leave a comment for us. We want to know that what we're saying is really resonating with you. So thank you so much for your time. Have a good one.